Vandy UNLV Saturday night, 6 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. This is the return of a game, I want to say 3-4 years ago here, where UNLV
2019
absolutely trashed Vandy. And that was sort of, for a lot of us, the Derrick Mason isn't going to make it, because UNLV wasn't anything to write home about. Frankly, Vandy wasn't a week ago either at Wake in a 36-20 loss. And that's sort of where Billy Derrick and Coach Clark Lea start this interview.
Coach, you head to Vegas on Saturday night. Of course, UNLV, familiar face with Barry Odom, a former SEC coach. We saw some mistakes. We saw some sloppy play against Wake Forest. As a coaching staff throughout this week of practice, how do you guys try to work to prevent some of those mistakes?
Well, I think first of all, for me, I don't know that our play was that dramatically different from the first two games against when we played Wake Forest. I think in some ways they were able to capitalize on those mistakes, and when you play good teams, that's what happens. So I think cleaning up our play, I think making better decisions with the ball, those have been things that we have been harping on in the first 2 weeks. Obviously, we paid the penance for not having cleaned that up against Wake, and so you ask about how to improve it. Everything that happens to us on game day is a lag effect. It's a result of a process, and so rather than focus on each individual decision, you kind of look at it and say, okay, look, what is the process that led to that decision to throw the ball in a certain situation, or where we miss, or any of those little things that can be cleaned up. You go back to the process that delivered that result. That's why you train. And so this week, we've pointed out where those mistakes occurred. We've designed drills or competitive segments in practice that have allowed us to address those issues, and ultimately it's through that repetition that you train and you prepare and you become better. And any team needs to be better and improve through the season. That's no different for us. Obviously, we need to get this redirected quickly because we have a tough challenge on the road ahead of us. But I feel good about where we've assessed the need to strengthen performance, how we've designed training to strengthen it, and Saturday will be about letting that all come to life in our game performance.
Coach, Wake Forest was able to run for 288 rushing yards in the second half. It felt like they were able to run the ball more efficiently because of, I don't know if it was tired legs or what it was defensively, but you mentioned some tackling issues. Is that another thing this week that is fixable? And because you had guys in position, right? But arm tackling is something that I'm sure is fixable throughout a week of practice.
Yeah, well, you're not going to address tackling issues in a week. The good news for us is this is something we've paid attention to since January. And I feel like we lost a little bit of our technique on Saturday, and we diverted from that technique. We played a different defensive structure, and that defensive structure was meant to force Wake to run the ball to win. I think we executed it at times really successfully. At other times, there was a little more space for the ball, but we still had unblocked players at the point of attack, and we need to be a group that can down the ball in those situations. When you look at the second half rushing numbers, I think two things come into play with that. The first is Wake was able to play with a 2-score lead, and so we never forced them, or we never put pressure on them to deviate from the run game. That's the first thing, is they were very happy to try to drain the clock out. Now, certainly, we had some issues arise, but I think there was 165 yards in the second half, 74 of which came in one play. And on that one play, they ran through a tackle, and our corner was overcommitted as the force player, and so the ball was able to get to the sideline. We then had it probably for about 14 yards on the sideline, and we didn't knock him out of bounds. Derrick was trying to strip the ball out, and we ended up taking him down at the 1. In some ways, look, we designed to force them to run, and we accomplished that. We never designed to force them to run to give up 20-yard chunks, certainly not 74-yard chunks. But I was proud of the fact that we downed that long breakout, and on the next play we were able to punch the ball out. I think in general, UNLV has got skilled players. It all runs through the quarterback. He's very capable. They have a slot receiver who is shifty and dynamic. He's also their returner, and he's done a really nice job in both games, generating momentum for them. And so we're going to have to, prove our tackling chops Saturday. And I've got confidence that the work we've done prior to this week will obviously help us find success that way. But also certainly, as you pointed out, we've taken time this week to make training it in our preparation a part of it, so that it shows up for us on Saturday.
Coach, I know stats don't always tell the whole story, but it was a pretty evenly matched game, right? The mistakes ended up being a lot of the difference in that game. Is that encouraging as a staff, as a program, to say, hey, as long as we can clean it up, right, we're right there, and we should have a better outcome, better result? Is that encouraging for you as a program?
Well, we want to win, so I think it's hard to say, had we only performed better, had we only played cleaner, we would have been right there, with a chance to win. To me, that's kind of a loser's mentality. And I think that we have to caution against, that mindset. What I will tell you is that we know we have a good team, and that doesn't mean that, we can just show up on Saturday and a good team, presents. A good team has to make it happen on game day. We have to do the little things. We say small things done well. We have to protect the ball. We have to fight for the ball in all three phases. And what was telling to me on Saturday is, to give up 10 points off turnovers in the first half, really, if you look at that first possession they had offensively, they start on the 10-yard line because we threw a pick and missed in an area where we just couldn't miss, but our defense held the line for 3, and we're taking possession of the ball there at the end of the first half, having just scored rapidly to have a chance to tie or take the lead in the game. And that's when we had the punt return fumble return for a touchdown. That's a critical moment. But even beyond that, you saw a team that was resilient. I mean, we had opportunities in the second half where we were going to get within one score. I felt like we were moving the ball at times with ease. The problem became when we didn't punch the ball in on the goal line, and gave them that space, that life back. We were forced into a one-dimensional game, and we had to throw the ball to win. And I think anytime you become one-dimensional offensively, you allow the opponent the opportunity to key in on what you're doing. And all that to say, our formula for winning is never to play a perfect game. Like I said, it's never going to be exactly how you design it, but we do have to clean it up. We have to make that better decisions with the ball. We have to make the routine plays and get to our technique faster than the opponent. I've got full confidence that we can do that, but until we do it, every time we play, we're going to leave it to chance. And we're too good of a team to allow that to happen. So my push to the guys this week has just been, let's not wait any longer to recognize what we need to be doing, how we need to be doing it, and that it has to show up in our practice work for it to show up on game day. And I told him too, Billy, that, in some ways, these were the conversations we were having after Missouri and South Carolina last year. So, maybe we're a few weeks ahead this year. But winning requires what winning requires. And we have to pay attention to that now if we're going to have the season that we want to have.
Back on the road, Coach, and last thing here, UNLV, of course, coached by Barry Odom, a guy that I know you have a ton of respect for. He's been in the SEC. What stands out about this UNLV team through 2 weeks on tape? I know they played Michigan last week against another familiar face, Coach Minter there. But what stands out to you most about the Running Rebels?
They're building a program. They're doing it the right way. Barry's a good man and a good coach. Defensively, they play with 3 safeties. They're gonna be an odd front team, and they're gonna find ways to add rushers to blitz. They're going to play multiple coverages with multiple leverages on the perimeter. So it's a challenge. I think they play hard on defense. and they're going to make it tough on us. We have to, again, be disciplined with the ball. We have to find a way to establish our run game. We got to get the ball to our playmakers in space, and that's part of that's a design, and part of that's being on time and in rhythm at the quarterback position. But certainly Barry knows how to make it tough on us on that side of the ball. Offensively, this is a unique offense, and I feel like you could anymore in college football every week's a unique offense. This is primarily a two-back zone team that has a little gap scheme, but also they'll run some option football too. They do it out of unbalanced formations, and really kind of stress your systems out that way. You'll also see some one back and some empty in there as well. The quarterback is a good player. He's got a live arm. He can run. They'll use him in the run game. So again, a different challenge than what we had last week. This week's going to be about trying to suffocate the run, obviously, and not give up the explosive touchdown, and that'll be our focus. And anytime you go on the road, and certainly as you're crossing time zones, there are going to be challenges that are inevitable. This is about not a perfect game, not a game without adversity, but how we take belief to the field every snap, how we play to our potential, and how we come out of this week feeling like we've made progress from Wake Forest, and we're ready to keep building, through the teeth of the schedule here in the middle of the season.
Vanderbilt and UNLV kickoff set for 6 o'clock on the CBS Sports Network. Coach, thanks for taking the time, and stay away from the poker tables.
Nah, you don't have to worry about that with me. But thanks, Billy. Hey, good to be with you, man.
Why not blackjack?
I was going to say blackjack. But
yeah.